Okay, this is for my pre-calculus class, and we're solving trig equations. And this page, I've done videos all the way up to this number 12. And this page is we're going to find the angles with degrees, using degrees, not radians. So the first thing I did when I looked at this is try to get it in a method where I can see what I need to do. So I cross-multiplied, and that's going to be 5 cosine squared theta plus 3 cosine theta. So I just multiplied both of these by cosine theta equals 2. And then I notice it's a quadratic, so I'm going to move over the 2. And so I'm going to subtract 2 so that it equals 0. Now it's in a method that I can do this with, and I'm going to use a quadratic formula to solve this. You can do factoring, but a lot of people prefer the quadratic, so because we're solving for the angle when we're done. So a is 5, b is 3, c is negative 2. When I do b squared minus 4ac, I get 49. So then I'm saying the cosine of the angle is negative b plus or minus the square root of 49 all over 2a, or 10. Then I'm going to do the addition and the subtraction. When I do the addition, I get 2/5. It reduces down to 2/5. When I do the subtraction, I get negative 1. So now I have the cosine of theta equals a positive 2/5, and I have the cosine of theta equals negative 1. Well, I'm going to do the negative 1 first because I know that's going to be on a quadrant. If it's 1, 0, or negative 1, and it's cosine and sine, it's going to be on a quadrant. So I want to find out when is cosine negative 1. So I know this point here is 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, and 0, negative 1. So cosine is negative 1 at 180 degrees. But you can put inverse cosine of negative 1 right in your calculator, and it will tell you, as long as you're in degrees, that it's 180 degrees. So we're looking at this angle here. It's right on the quadrant. And I always check all the other 4 quadrants, and that's the only one that it is. So we're good. Now here it says I got to do inverse cosine of 2/5. Now 2/5 is positive. So that means cosine's positive in quadrant 1 and 4. So when I do inverse cosine of 2/5, I'm going to get an angle that's in the first quadrant, and that comes out to be 66 degrees. And we're rounding everything to the nearest degree. Then I want to take 360 and subtract the 66 degrees, and I get 294 degrees. So there's 3 angles that work with this one. Is 66 degrees. I go right around 180 degrees and 294 degrees. Each one of those separately put in there will make that equation true. Okay, so let's do a couple more. I'm trying to do 3 per video, so let's see how this works. So here's 13. See how I have it all set up already, 13 and 14. So here's 13. I have 4 sine squared theta minus 2 sine theta minus 3 equals 0. So I'm going to set up my A, B, C, D to do the quadratic formula. So A is 4, B is negative 2, C is negative 3, and I can do that immediately because it's already equal to 0. When I do my B squared minus 4AC, I get a 52. So now I know the sine of theta is negative B plus or minus the square root of 52 all over 2A, or 8. You do the plus and minus. Now here, what I would suggest that you do is put the decimal down, go at least 3 or 4 decimal places. When I put in this, like just the way it is with the plus, I got 1.15. When I did it with the negative, I got a negative 0.6514. So really you have sine of theta equals this, and sine of theta equals this. So let's start with this one first. When I do inverse sine of 1.15, I get an error because remember, sine and cosine are the highest it goes is 1 and negative 1. So, and the lowest it goes is negative 1. And this one's over that, so it doesn't exist there. So this is empty set. So this is like, thanks for playing, but I don't need your help. Now this one's negative. So the first thing I'm going to do is sine is negative in quadrants 3 and 4 because it's my y. So I'm not going to put the negative in my calculator. What I want you to do is put the positive in, find your reference angle. So I'm going to do inverse sine of my positive 6.6514. When I put that in my calculator, I'm going to get 41 degrees, and this is a reference angle. It is not one of the answers because 41 degrees lives here. But I'm going to use that 41 degrees to find, I'm going to add it to 180 and subtract it from 360 to find the actual angles. And when I do, when I do 180 plus 41, I get 221 degrees. And when I do 360 minus 41, I get 319 degrees. And so those are our only two angles that make this one work. Okay, let's try 14. And you know what? You can stop this at any time. Try doing it and see if you work the same as I am. So this is a quadratic. In good standing, it's equal to 0. So I'm going to do A is 2, B is negative 1, C is negative 2. When I do B squared minus 4AC, I get 17. So I have the tan of theta equals negative B plus or minus the square root of 17 all over 2A or 4. So basically put it right in your calculator just like it is. First do plus, then do minus. This is what I get when I put plus in, 1.28078. And when I do negative, I get minus 0.780776. Okay? So I'm going to do the first one up here. I see that it's a positive, so I know tangent is positive in quadrant 1 and in quadrant 3. So what I'm going to do is put this in my calculator. Remember, your calculator is only going to give you quadrant 1, so you can do inverse tan. Almost did inverse sine. Inverse tan of 1.28078. And when I do, I get for that one, for 14, I get 52 degrees. Okay? So there's one of them. 52 degrees is here, and then I got to add 180 plus 52, so I'm going to get 232. So those are the two angles I'm going to get there. So that works for here. Now this is a negative, so what I would suggest that you do is put the positive, so I want you to do inverse tan of the positive 0.780776. When I do, and I put that in my calculator, I get a 38 degrees, and it's a reference angle. This is not an answer, okay? It's a reference angle. Why is it a reference angle? Because this is negative, and I know that tan is negative in quadrants 2 and 4. So I'm going to use this 38 degrees, subtract it from 180, and subtract it from 360 to figure out what that would be. So when I subtract that from 180, I get 104 degrees. That's the first one. Okay. And then when I subtract it from 360, I get 322 degrees. So we have four answers. Here we go. We're going to start with the lowest one first, is 52 degrees. Then the next one we got was, excuse me, wrong one. I am looking at the wrong one. No, I'm doing the right one. I'm sorry. So the first one we're going to get is 52 degrees, okay? Then the next one is going to be 142, and I don't even have a 142. Must be when I do 180 minus. Yes, I looked at the wrong one. I'm sorry, guys. This is not 104. When I subtract 38 from that, I get 142. My fault. Okay? So I have 52 degrees, and then I have 142 degrees. Sorry about that. Looking at the wrong problem. Then the next one was 232 degrees. And then the last one was 322 degrees. So again, be careful with the negatives. See how I did this? I put the positive in there. I found my reference angle. And then I actually go do it. If I can subtract right, it would be 142 there. Okay? Let's try one more on this video. Let's try 15. I hope I'm not pushing it. I just like to, and you can always look through this. Let's do 15. So I have 9 cosine squared theta minus 6 cosine theta equals 2. I see that it's squared, so I'm going to move over my 2. Minus 2 equals 0. I'm going to stack and rack and say A is 9, B is negative 6, C is negative 2, D comes out to be 108 when I do my B squared minus 4AC. Okay, so now I have cosine theta is negative B plus or minus the square root of 108 all over 18 because it's 2A. Now I'm going to do plus and minus. When I do the positive, I get 1.28078. When I do the negative, I get negative 0.780776. Okay? I can tell you right now, when I do inverse cosine of, I'm looking at the wrong one again. I'm so sorry. You know, sometimes when this happens, I just gotta stop doing what I'm doing here. I'm writing down the stuff to 14. So let's try that again. When I plug this in my calculator, I get 0.910684. Here I get a negative 0.244017. Just making sure as I look at that none of those are matching. Yep, I was using those above. Now I'm going to do inverse cosine of 0.910684. And remember, that's a positive number, so cosine is positive in quadrant 1 and in 4. So when I put inverse cosine of that in, I get 24 degrees. That's my first one. And when I do 360 minus 24, I get 336 degrees. Again, I'm going to show you this same thing. I have a negative number, okay? I do know that cosine is negative here and here, quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. So in my calculator, I'm going to do inverse cosine of the positive 0.244017 to find my reference angle. When I do that, I get 76 degrees is my reference angle. Then I'm going to use that to subtract it from 180 and add to 180. And when I do, I get 104 degrees for quadrant 2, and then I get 256 for the one in quadrant 3. So when I get all done, I go around in order. So the first one was 24 degrees I found. The next one was 104 I found. Then 256 degrees, ending up with 336 degrees. So I hope that helps. I apologize for that. I try to make sure I look at the right things. So I'm going to do another video for the remainder of this. So again, try doing them yourselves and then just see if you're making sure you show all the work.